All right, Internet, we've seen the Marvels. We've got a review and an opinion about it. Bring it on. Here we go. Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name's Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And we are back from the theater from seeing The Marvels. This is going to be our spoiler-free review, so you don't have to worry about spoilers. That's what spoiler-free means.
It's good. I'm glad you explained that because some people might be missing that information.
Well, if anyone has seen how the internet's been working lately in regards to reviews for this movie,
Facts.
Some things do need to be explained. Maybe not necessarily the state of the spoilers in our review, but
there are none.
There aren't any. That's the point. Anyways, so got back from seeing that. We are seeing it on a Thursday night. So this movie really had its premiere on Tuesday. A lot of higher up critics and press have already been able to see this movie since Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So we've already had a round of reviews and criticism make its way to the internet. And I've been eager to watch this even more so after seeing some of those reviews because they're wild. They're either really good or really bad, and it's just insane what's going on with this.
Yeah, there's just a whole lot of talk either way, and you got to be careful, specifically for us, because I don't like to watch other people's or read other people's reviews before we see a movie, because I would like to have my opinion given to you guys free of any kind of sway from someone else's opinion.
The sway, or even using the same terminology.
Yeah.
I don't like watching another reviewer and finding out they had...
Well, they had the right word. I'm going to use that word 8 times in our video.
That kind of a thing. Yeah, I don't like that either. Yeah. So this is going to be our opinion. This is our free, open opinion.
Couple things to keep in mind. One, Disney's not paying us. I wish they would.
We have less than 2,000 subscribers as of the filming of this review.
Love a check that size.
Nobody cares what we think.
Nobody's paying us.
Except you, who's watching this.
2, we love women.
I have a Captain Marvel Hot Toys figure that was $200-something. I would not spend $200-something on a figure if I didn't like the character.
That is the very nerdy way of saying you have a black friend.
That is. Actually, never mind.
No. So just so everybody on both sides understands where we're coming from here.
We're attacking these before you say anything.
We're not misogynists, which I know is exactly what a misogynist would say.
I do like massages, though.
That's a different thing.
Oh.
And also, Disney's not paying us, so
we got that out of the way as well. Now let's give our opinion. If you've got one, let us know down below in the comments. I'm eager to see more wild opinions about this movie. Let's start off with the good. The good right off the bat.
It was great. The awful. It was bad.
In my opinion, the best thing about this movie was the 3 leads.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think all 3 of them did phenomenal. I love Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, as Carol Danvers. I think she embodies that character. And it's a character I've really loved from the comics, especially when you dive into X-Men and the backstory history of Rogue and her connection to Captain Marvel, or at the time Miss Marvel, different Miss Marvel. But yeah, I love her performance and how she's doing it.
And it's weird to say they gave her even more to do in this movie, because considering that both the first Captain Marvel and this movie are Captain Marvel's movies, first and foremost. But I really do feel like between her first movie and Endgame and any post-credit scenes that she might have popped up in other areas, we've really gotten to break a wall. There's a wall of her that has been able to break down since then.
Yeah.
And I think we're really now exploring more about what makes Carol Danvers tick. And I think the big part of that is what they've done with her character is she's got walls. She knows that she's got walls that she's not able to see past. And so that's reflected in a lot of how her character comes across to us as an audience. We're in a movie now where more of those walls for herself have broken down. So they've broken down for us as an audience too. And I think that they did a really good job of making that kind of shine through.
Yeah, especially there's one scene where she is talking to Kamala, and she's very authoritative. She's very strict in her commands that she's giving to Kamala. And then later on, she's like, I came off a bit harsh there. I don't mean to do that. Like, I'm liking to see that kind of a character development in her. She's not just a super helpful, good, amazing, kind superhero.
Flawless.
She's got roughness to her, and I think that they did a good job, and Brie Larson did a phenomenal job with that in this movie.
Yeah, Captain Marvel is not a flawless. Like, she's super powerful. We've seen that. She's very powerful. She's even more powerful in the comics.
Yeah.
But she's not flawless. She is a human character through and through.
Teyonah Parris,
fantastic.
as Monica Rambeau, does a fantastic job. There's elements to her character I want to talk about, but I guess I could go ahead and kind of talk about some of those elements here. Is that one of the things that she has to deal with is like her meeting a lot of these people that she hasn't seen in a while, and she's having to explain, yes, I've got powers now, and she's basically kind of just reciting just a small bit of her time in WandaVision.
Basically catch everybody up who didn't check out the show on Disney+.
So the thing I want to use that with is, as kind of like a side tangent real quick, is how much of those other shows and movies do you really need to have watched? I think there's a bit with Captain Marvel where she has a dream at the beginning that basically plays out as previously on Captain Marvel.
Kinda, yeah.
That's what that was. And then, yeah, you've got Teyonah Parris that is basically explaining that I went through some witch's hex wall, and that's how I got powers. So that doesn't necessarily, like, WandaVision was still primarily focused on Wanda, first and foremost. The little bit with Monica in that, I think she summed up that part very well. She didn't need to go into any more detail of anything else.
I really do think that at least for her story wise, you don't actually have to see WandaVision first. You don't have to watch it first. I think you do get enough.
You get just the enough that you need for her character.
Yeah, plus on top of that, we know that she was a character that was in the first Captain Marvel movie. She was a little girl then.
Yeah.
But we know we got enough of who she is and what she's doing now from what she said, plus knowing that she was already a character previously.
Yeah, so when they refer to, like, Lieutenant Trouble, you know what that term of endearment is for, or where it's coming from.
Plus they even remind you of it, too. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Teyonah Parris does a fantastic job here, because she's having to balance between, I'm in a very important role now with what I'm doing, and I've also got these powers that I'm still trying to work out in places, but I have to take responsibility of, and also I have to balance out my personal feelings with her relationship with Carol, and everything that entails. And I feel like she had a lot on her shoulders and a lot on her plate in this movie, and she balances it very well.
I think out of all the characters that are roughly, out of the three lead characters, I think she's the one who's probably the most well-balanced and well-adjusted. She does have things to talk about with Carol, but otherwise, she's probably the most, like, head on her shoulders out of the three of them.
And they did a really good job with the emotional beats that those conversations entail, too, because there's moments where I'm like, sitting there in the seat listening and watching. I'm like, I feel it. I do think that they probably could push it a little bit further, but they did push it far enough for me to be kind of like, I like this.
Yeah. And then, of course, the actual star of the movie, I would say, not Goose, is Iman Vellani.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel. Like, honestly, I wanted to actually start this review off going like, so we just got out of seeing the Miss Marvel movie. And then real quick, again, going back to the side tangent, do you need to have seen the Miss Marvel show to understand her character?
For this one, I would say it helps a little bit more.
It helps a little more, but this movie did a really good job of not only having the story that it needed to tell, but also kind of reintroducing us to her family.
Yeah.
The family had a lot of good beats in this movie as well.
They're wonderful and lovable.
I don't necessarily think you need to have watched Miss Marvel to understand the family aspect of Kamala Khan's family. But it is a lot more fun if you have gone back and watched, if you have seen Miss Marvel, or if you've gone back and watched it. Just they're all fun.
It's one of the situations where you're rewarded if you do, but you're not punished if you don't.
Yes.
And I think what the movie does a good job of at this point is when they first introduce Miss Marvel in the movie, they also, again, for her, they give you a brief rundown real quick. But they do it in a fun, very Miss Marvel way. The way they do it is very much like the TV show was.
Yeah.
And I think that it's great because that means that the MCU, they know their characters and they know what makes their characters tick. They know the themes that go with their characters and how to carry those into other projects.
And I like specifically with her in that what you're talking about is they show there's a different style and look to the movie that they do with that. Mm-hmm. And it's the MCU has earned the ability to have these multiple styles within the course of one movie. I mean, even go back and look at Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange. I mean, granted, some of those styles, they just quickly pass through visiting other multiverses, but other dimensions, realities, whatever. But they are capable of doing something like that, and it made sense.
Well, I think your best example is Infinity War and Endgame, like when we're introducing Guardians of the Galaxy, who have been very cosmic in comparison to Iron Man's very earthbound stories.
Iman Vellani is the star of this movie.
She is so delightful.
Every single time the camera's on her, I am just smiling. I am enjoying it. I am laughing. She is so good.
She is like the purest definition of delightful.
Yeah, she is... at this point, I feel like this is safe to say, she is the female version of Ke Kwan.
I want to see them together in a movie now.
Yeah, Ke Kwan and Iman Vellani. I just want, well, first of all, I want to see Iman Vellani in something else now.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at her, like, credits right now, it's all Marvel.
And I love her in Marvel. I also want to see her stretch her wings and take what she's gained from Marvel and use that as the foundation for more Iman Vellani. She's great.
Mm-hmm. I want to see her play, like, an actual, like, high school teenage role, something like a Mean Girls or, like, something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, all three of them together, their chemistry together, how they work together, the action sequences with them, with their swapping their places and all of that is wonderful. I thought they did such a great job with making the action sequences very unique and interesting.
Especially with the kind of hyper editing that they have to do on that, because it may be a thing where the camera's panning, you see Miss Marvel over here, and then the camera pans in time to see Miss Marvel has appeared over here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool, like how they did those shots.
Yeah. On top of that, knowing that they all have very light based power, so it's all very CGI heavy in their power set as well.
But it looked good. I think it looked pretty good.
Yeah, they make it work very, very well.
Complaints about like visual effects and stuff, I don't think I didn't really have any. In fact, over the course of this whole movie, I really don't think I had any.
Very few. There might be a couple issues with like environments and stuff here and there with like very wide shots, but outside of that, when it comes to the action sequences, no, fantastic.
The rest of the people in this movie, with the exception of one, everyone else I think did a good job. The family, Fury, all of that was pretty good.
Very little to absolutely zero mention of the Secret Invasion show.
Oh, yeah. If we want to touch back on that tangent real quick. Yeah.
Which is great.
You don't have to watch Secret Invasion to watch this.
Yeah.
It does not matter. It is not required viewing.
If you want to know our opinion and kind of get a better taste of our opinion, not a fan of that show.
No.
Not a fan of that show.
No.
Didn't do a whole lot.
It didn't live up to the expectation of the comic book storyline, which should have been massively huge, and it was just it petered out. Anything else positive from this movie?
I would say that there's been a lot of flack given to Nia DaCosta for directing this, and honestly, she did a great job.
So you haven't seen any of her other movies.
I haven't seen any of her other movies. No.
I have seen her Candyman, and I do see a style that was in Candyman that I also saw here in regards to both of these movies really deal with. Like, you have your one timeline that we're following for the majority of the movie.
Yeah.
But then it does have times where it needs to flash back, or we need to see this other part to add to the current story. Both of them did that. With Candyman, you had a lot of the lore of the Candyman character and the various people who have been Candyman over the years. How many times have I said that?
Candyman.
Oh, damn it. Anyway, so you've got those that need all of that stuff that needs to be shown in that movie that shall no longer be named.
I don't think cameras count as mirrors.
I can see myself in the screen that faces us.
Well, this will be our last review, everybody.
See ya. But I see that kind of direction, that feel is very similar to what they do in this movie, with a couple of like flashbacks, and they have to we need to go back over here and show you this so you understand how it connects to this. Or specifically at the beginning, we're seeing where all three of our leads are in their lives at that time, and then how they all start connecting once they get entangled.
Yeah. So she did a great job. As far as everything else, story-wise, I think the movie it's a Marvel movie. Here's the thing: not every single movie can be an Avengers level movie.
No.
This one definitely does sway a little bit more personal towards Carol and kind of where she had been, especially revolving around the Kree. Obviously, we know the main villain in the movie, Dar-Benn, is a part of the Kree Empire. Mm-hmm. So the relationship there and the balance that we get that we saw starting from the first movie to this kind of carrying over. I think the story-wise, it's a very easy kind of going plot. It's not too hard to kind of get lost. I don't think I phrased that right. It's
hard to get lost.
It's hard to get lost. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm getting lost in what I'm saying, but know that the movie itself, you don't get lost in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something like what he said.
And I'm trying to preface all of this to say the movie does have some flaws. I think the main underlying flaw of the movie is the runtime, wherein a lot of times you will hear us and maybe some other reviewers go, man, they probably could have shaved 20 minutes off of that movie and kind of tightened it up a little bit. This movie needed to be untightened. This movie probably could have had an extra 15, 20 minutes, maybe even 25 minutes. It's clocked in around about an hour 40, so add another 20 minutes, make it an even 2 hours, and I think you get enough time to flesh out certain things. For instance, one of my issues being that they kind of sped through certain moments at the beginning as they're kind of bouncing around and finding out that they're trading places, that there were certain scenes that I feel like we needed to have there that they just didn't have there.
Well, I feel like these are non-spoilery. Because we've seen a lot of these in the trailer showing off how they're entangled.
Yeah.
Specifically is Kamala Khan appears in the spacesuit, sees Nick Fury through the window. Hi, Nick Fury!
And the next scene we see her, she's back
at home
with her family.
We didn't get any of that dialogue between her and Fury. Fury's like, the only thing we hear from Fury is, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Kamala Khan walking through her front door at her house. She's back home.
How did she get back home?
What was the conversation she had with Fury? How is she taking in the fact that she was in outer space and what's going on? And
there are some people that might view this as like a nitpicky type thing, but what I'm arguing for is there's not enough time and meat given to the movie for transitions. Mm-hmm. And you need those transitions in order for us to not be kind of caught off guard a little bit. Because, I mean, that's the whole thing. To explain the whole situation, like, yes, as an audience, I can infer, okay, Fury and the team up there pulled her back into the space station, and then they just popped her on a ship and sent her back to her house.
But I want to see that.
But I feel
especially with Kamala involved.
Between Kamala and Fury, you need a little bit more of a relationship built there, because Nick Fury is a very important character. He's a very important role, kind of in charge of the show, basically. You need to have that interaction so we can establish these certain beats and moments to inform what happens later. Now, that being said, because of a lack of extra time on the movie, the pacing does get kind of thrown off in places. And on top of that, you lose a little bit of the luster of the villain. You're not given a lot of time to explore her backstory and what is her actual, like, deeper motivations for doing what she's doing.
And what is it that she's actually doing? That's my problem with it, is I don't actually know exactly what she was trying to do until probably about halfway through the movie. At first, it looks like she's looking for the other bangle, and then we don't know. She's doing something for the Kree, and we know from previous Marvel that Kree may or may not necessarily be good, especially the last Captain Marvel movie. The Kree are typically bad.
But there's not enough there for us to personally connect with the villain and be like, because here's the thing, Marvel's done a very good job with Thanos, Killmonger, other various villains, even the High Evolutionary in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah,
they've done enough for us to connect with them and be like, either they're very intimidating even Loki,
yeah,
they're very intimidating, or their vantage point is, you know what? They could be right, but the way they're going about it is, we don't like that. But man, they've got a point.
They make them sympathetic, which overall, what Dar-Benn is trying to do, I can see somewhat of a sympathetic side to it, but they just don't. They don't push it towards there. They don't do enough to really tug at the audience to get involved and actually care what she wants or what she's trying to do or anything. Like, she's just a throwaway villain in this.
There's very much a sympathetic angle they could have taken a little bit more on for her if they had more time in the movie to explore that. And I think that's ultimately where the movie kind of hits a roadblock, and it's in that. And
especially when she's the main villain going up against someone out of, like, not just the three people, but just one of the three, Carol, being as superpowered as she is. Dar-Benn is not a worthy adversary for just Carol alone.
They do what they can.
They do mention the other three.
They do what they can to make her on an even playing field,
but it doesn't. It seems a little off.
I think still, we're talking about motivations and everything. You're still missing that angle, and so you're just like, okay, cool. We have a villain here who is, powerful enough, I guess, to hang out with Carol.
I mean, we got Captain Marvel is powerful enough to potentially hold her own against Thanos.
Yeah,
we saw what she did to Thanos' ship in Endgame. Dar-Benn should have been like,
basically. But for the most part, the movie is a lot better than I feel like people are giving it credit for. And it's just really, those are kind of my only arguments and flaws for it, against it, what have you. There is definitely like Marvel's past. There's a lot of humor, a lot of like bits thrown in here. There's some of them, depending on your taste, some of them might lose you.
Yeah.
But for me, a lot of these little segments and bits that they had in the movie, I've thought were incredibly entertaining.
There's one major one, like kind of towards the end, or at the I would say like the beginning of the third act, maybe, that I know a lot of people probably are not gonna like. They're like, this is silly, this is goofy. Why are we doing this? I had a fun time with it.
But for me, it served a purpose in the plot. It actually made sense.
Yeah.
It was goofy, it was funny, it was silly, but what they were actually doing serves the plot. So you can throw arguments out there that kind of feels a little disjointed, but I think if you take a step back and look at it as a whole, I think the movie will age well, is what I'm saying. I think for some people it'll be forgotten about, but I think for others it'll age well and it'll blend a lot better together later on.
Yeah. So I think that's roughly about it. Otherwise, I mean, what else is there? Cinematography looked good. Music, some good music choices in this.
Some great music choices.
Not gonna say exactly what, but yeah, some good music.
Especially during that bit that I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. During that one, the song choice during that, like, I know a lot of people knocked the "I'm Just a Girl" during like the final battle in Captain Marvel.
You don't have that problem this time.
There's one clip they've already released on the internet when they're showing all of them fighting the Kree soldiers in Kamala's house, and there's the rap music that's playing. I still don't feel like that fit very well, even in the context of watching the whole movie. It's not as bad as
You're just a hater, man.
Oh, shut up. It's not as bad as the "I'm Just a Girl," which I love that song too. It just was out of place. The one that's playing during that scene that we're talking about, though, that was
an excellent choice.
That was a great music choice. Yep. Great song choice there.
Overall, though, I mean, I enjoyed it. Here's the thing: is it
post credits?
Post credits, yes. Stay for those. Obviously,
great post credit. There's only one post credit in the middle of the actual credits. There's nothing after the credits are done.
You get the like the title credit sequence, then the mid credit scene.
But man, that is a good mid credit scene. And they did something amazing with that.
They did something really good with it. So definitely stick around for that for sure. Overall, listen, it's not like the top tierest of the Marvel movies, but it's by far not as bottom as people are saying it is.
No, I can think of probably at least two Marvel movies that I dislike more. At least two. I'm not sitting here really trying to think of it. I'll save that for like some kind of a ranking video later.
Yeah,
but
for me, it's good. It's a very solid middle of the road pack movie for Marvel, but it skews more positive than negative for me. So for me, I'm giving it around like a 3.5
out of 5.
Excuse me, yeah, that's out of 5. We usually do out of 10, don't we?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Letterboxd is 5.
7.
We do 10.
7.
Yeah. I will go and I'll give it a 6 out of 10, mainly just because I just had that hard connection with trying to follow the villain. That was really my major complaint. And then again, of course, yes, the pacing, like we said earlier. If those things were fixed, oh yeah, this would be much higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to give it 6 out of 10. That is going to be our review for this. Again, what did you think of the movie? Did you have any other thoughts before you go see the movie? Let me know all your thoughts, everything that you're doing, thinking, whatever, down below. While you're down there, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We're doing some fun stuff here, so make sure you stick around and check out what we're doing.
Yep.
Make sure you follow us on social media. We are at The Cinefanatics on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, because we're dropping maybe short ranking videos or immediate out of the theater reaction like we did for this one.
Maybe you saw it before you watched this review, which thank you.
And if you did, let us know that down below in the comments also. We'd like to know how all of this is actually working for you. So, yeah, go make sure you follow us on all of those things. You can follow me personally at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Also, youtube.com/RobertAdamsMLP.
You can say your own name. You can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/ChrisAdamsMLP.
Anyways, that's going to do it for this review. Again, thank you for watching. We will see you later on the next one. Bye-bye.
Higher, further, faster.